Continuing this series from last week, here are 20 more tips I'd give my younger self to improve faster. And this time, I'll put a focus on art supplies and having an online presence. Without further ado, let's start with number 1. Don't buy the cheapest materials. We know art can be an expensive activity, so it's just natural to want to keep the costs as low as possible. There are plenty of cheap alternatives for those high-end brands, but I don't recommend buying strictly the cheapest materials, and there are multiple reasons why. So a lot of times, cheap price equals cheap quality, and it's just not what I would go with. Low quality means a lot more struggle in the art making process. Take cheap brushes for example. I did my first oil painting and I got a whole bunch of cheap brushes because I thought it's not really necessary to buy expensive brushes for oil paints. While I was painting, I did not have any issues with the hair of the brushes. However, the quality of the brushes was so low that some of the hair did come out, and then I had to fish the hair off the painting, and it was really annoying. Same goes for cheap colored pencils. You will probably run into a lot of problems with lots of layers or an even application. Too many examples. And this can also hinder the fun you have with the art supply, but there's one more reason why I would not recommend getting just the cheapest supplies: the price. Now, this sounds a paradox, but hear me out. Because of the cheap quality, you might not like making art with these supplies, or worse, they might just become unusable, like they break or dry out. So that means in the end, you will basically spend more money on cheaper art supplies instead of investing in a few high-quality brands. But, and this is where number 2 comes in play, art doesn't have to be expensive. A few high-quality materials can go a long way, and you don't have to buy the most expensive brands either. It's important to find brands you trust with quality where it matters. And I think there are a lot of good middle-priced options where the quality is decent and the price doesn't scare you off that much. I find that a healthy mix of high-quality, more expensive supplies and a few cheaper, expendable options are more than enough to work with. And it also depends how long these supplies will last. Maybe the initial purchase will hurt a bit, but you might notice that they last a long time, like maybe over a year or 2. Number 3, don't underestimate the importance of paper or canvas quality. Paper is something a lot of people think they can just get randomly for a cheaper price. But this is a good example on how it can actually impact your finished artwork and outcome. Especially for working with watercolors and gouache, you really need a good 100% cotton paper to be able to soak up all the water and not end up being totally warped by the end. And depending on the pencils you use, you might prefer a slightly textured paper instead of a really smooth one. The first time I painted on a canvas, I really noticed I should have prepped the canvas a little bit more to get rid of a heavy texture and make the surface smoother. The painting or drawing surface really does matter, and I do recommend getting the quality options in this case. Number 4, if you want to be a professional artist, your art needs to be high quality. And what I mean by that is you should care about things like light fastness and the quality of the material. This changes drastically depending on what medium you use. I didn't know this back then, but basically all alcohol markers will fade tremendously over time. That is also why I would not recommend selling originals with alcohol markers. You really don't want to disappoint your customers, and I think it would be such a shame if your art just faded over time because you didn't know better. But even with the same medium, there are different levels of light fastness between different colors. Each brand has a light fastness indicator on the back of the tube or color. Generally speaking, it shouldn't be a huge issue, but it can't hurt to research about how you can protect your art from disappearing over time, and you should also protect your art with some sort of fixative or varnish in the end. I think if you're a professional artist, it's your job to provide the best quality possible for your customers and to just be aware of the different levels of quality in different art supplies. Number 5, stop obsessing with trendy art supplies. And again, I'm sorry, but for the sake of this point, I'm looking at you, alcohol markers. I remember, especially in the anime field, alcohol markers were the non-plus-ultra for coloring. They are so incredibly popular, and I get it. The application is smooth, the blending is nice, and you just have this huge variety of colors. But I just wish that I would not have been that focused on also using alcohol markers and try out different mediums. Back then, I didn't even think painting could be a thing for me because I saw all these other artists using alcohol markers and I just thought that's the way to go. So if I could go back in time, I would tell my younger self to ditch those alcohol markers and just try out different mediums. Number 6, no matter what medium you use, don't forget about the simplest thing there is, pencil and paper. I'd call it honor where you come from. They are the most affordable, least complicated, and for you AI people, most accessible tools out there. It can't hurt every now and then to go back to your roots and just draw something with a pencil on paper. This always feels like home to me, and it makes me remember where I came from, how I started, and I love coming back to it no matter how complicated things get. Number 7, art supplies won't make you a better artist. You could try any medium there is, but your art will stay the same, maybe with a different coding. But once you worked on your fundamentals, you can make any medium work. It's not the technique or medium, it's the decision making and thinking which determines who you as an artist really are. It's not the how can I blend these two colors perfectly smooth into each other. It's more the do I leave this hard edge or combine these two shadows, which truly shows what you're capable of. I like to think of the medium more like what's the most fun for me and what suits my process. The medium itself isn't the most important thing though. Number 8, be more open to draw or paint different motives. Use different supplies and try out different sizes. Back then, all I wanted to do was to draw portraits, but I found that over time, figure drawings have become a side branch I really enjoy to do. They teach me a lot every time. And this year, one of my figure drawings actually made me try out a way bigger size than I ever used before. I never drew in such a big size, but I was so glad I did it. Same goes for art supplies. I never saw myself painting, and here I am, finished my first oil painting, and it's not even a portrait. Never did a still life, but it was so much fun and just a different experience. It doesn't mean you have to force yourself to do something you hate, but if there's a gray zone, try stepping in it. Alright, moving on to the online presence and social media advice I'd give my younger self, and we'll start with number 9. Don't create art for social media. It's okay to do that every now and then, but to dedicate your whole art journey to social media is such a waste. First of all, people won't care that much about your art, no matter the amount of followers. In the end, you create art for yourself and your soul. It just feels more fulfilling to ask yourself what you truly want to create instead of doing fan art 24/7. Focusing on my artistic growth has been the best decision I ever made. People may find these portrait studies boring, but to me they had great value, and I believe the internet is there to serve you and not the other way around. Number 10, don't chase internet popularity. I know you see thousands of famous artists on social media and the thought of being like them is so nice, but instead of wanting all that popularity for your ego, ask yourself what it would do for your art. Nothing. So do you want to become popular or do you want to become an artist? And if the answer is an artist, then you don't need thousands of followers and likes. You're looking for artistic growth, and that has nothing to do with social media. Again, I like to see it this way. You create, you learn, you grow, and you let social media be a part of it and not the other way around. So don't let social media overshadow your art. Number 11, instead of trying to desperately grow on social media, try to connect with the art community and other artists. I feel like nowadays everyone just wants to go viral and become popular on social media, but during this process, nobody actually interacts with other others anymore, or at least not as much. More and more people want to become content creators and are just looking for those numbers and green graphs. I think we lost the social in media. I met so many great artists being active on social media. I just genuinely like to interact with them, see what they're up to, or sometimes even ask them questions. Instead of seeing everything as a business opportunity, try to be more social. Which brings me to number 12. Don't let marketing ruin your love for art and sharing your journey. Nowadays, being an artist often means being a content creator. It's something I personally don't like but accept. I wish I could just sit in my room and create art, but that also means no one will see my art, which also means no one will buy my art either. We need to present ourselves on social media and other platforms to be relevant, and this includes marketing. I hate marketing. I hate this word. I hate the meaning. I hate the practice. Unfortunately, it is to a certain degree unavoidable. To have to think about how to promote your art became essential, and it's such a deep rabbit hole, it becomes way too easy to lose yourself and your goals in it. Focusing on the business side can really bring down the joy and fun in just creating without having that pressure of always putting it out there. And my tip is again to think about creating art first and then let the marketing follow. Or sometimes just keep it simple and don't stress too much about promoting. These days you have to put so much content out there to be seen. Not all content needs to be heavily structured and planned out. The most important part is to keep going. Number 13, similar to my previous talking point, don't let the algorithm dictate your everyday life. Getting to understand social media algorithms is such a deep rabbit hole, and they can change every month. It's all a huge pool of numbers and graphs, and the algorithm wants to be fed constantly. It's almost impossible to keep up with all the accounts out there, and now especially with all the AI accounts out there overflooding the internet. Algorithms and analytics are useful tools, but don't let them drag down your actual creation process. You are so much more than a whole bunch of random numbers, and sometimes things just take time. Don't get too riled up when the algorithm decides to work against you, because I can assure you it's working against so many creators out there. Just don't go crazy over publishing the right things at the right time. You will go insane. So don't lose sight of what you really need to do, which is enjoying art making and finding your artistic voice. Number 14, it's never too early to create a website. This is again more for professional artists, but to be less dependent on social media, I encourage you to create a website as early as possible. I waited a little bit too long for my taste, but having your own website makes you just look more professional in the long run. I also think it's better and healthier to accept commissions and sales through your website and not some Instagram DMs. Not just because there are so many scams out there, but on your website, you are in control over the terms. Number 15, social media will come and go. Right now, I feel like we're entering a big social media fatigue. People are getting sick of this brain rot spam everywhere. Every post is a hidden ad. You can tell, especially on Instagram, people are interacting less and less with posts and reels. They became just silent story watchers, but even the big accounts notice a huge dip at engagement. And I can't blame them. Social media is annoying. And if it wasn't for sharing my art, I don't know if I would be too active on it either. There might be a positive change for social media in the future, there might not be. What I want to say is you cannot rely on it. Number 16, numbers don't equal success. Just because some artists may have thousands of followers doesn't mean they're selling as much. The chances are higher, but if you have just a few hundred people who wholeheartedly follow you and your art and are willing to buy your art, it's worth way more than 1 million clicks. Stop obsessing with numbers. You can be successful without having a huge following. Number 17, the internet is oversaturated and, dare I say it, random. Keep in mind, all of that content on the internet has been building up for years now. There's so much stuff out there we have no idea. It's hard getting seen in the vast sea of all the pictures and videos out there. And high quality does not ensure attention. And something I noticed with my YouTube channel too is that there's always a little bit of luck involved. Yes, being consistent and uploading helps, but you cannot tell me you will reach your desired outcome by just hard work. The algorithm can literally decide to push your content out of nowhere. And I'm sure all of us know the scenario when we just uploaded some random content without thinking about it and it just got way more engagement than the painting you put 30 hours into. Everything is over-flooded and nothing is original anymore. Number 18, shift from online to offline. Connect locally and stop obsessing with online growth. I love connecting with the local art community, and recently I've been able to put one of my artworks up in a small show and my piece sold within the first 3 hours, which just shows that the local interest is totally different than online. People in the community are actually interested in looking at art more than 1 second before swiping away. So it's just a good opportunity to put your art out there and connect with locals. Number 19, don't take things personally. In terms of online presence, you need a thick skin. Be it for being totally ignored or for getting a lot of attention and then accidentally attracting mean people. Just remember, on the internet, it's all strangers and you don't know what's going through other people's mind. Everyone has bad days and some let it out on social media. Don't get aggravated by hate comments and never take things personally. Try to maintain a healthy distance towards your online activity. And finally, number 20, consume less and create more. Now, this is also kind of a general life advice, and I feel like the older I get, the more natural it becomes, but try to tone down your consumption to be more productive. It's too easy to get distracted by the next series coming out, movie, YouTube video game, etc., etc. And hey, I still like to consume a lot of movies and series, don't get me wrong, but the important thing is where your focus lies on. Make time for art and don't just push it aside because you want to procrastinate more. You will feel better after being productive, and mindless consumption won't achieve that. Just try to find a healthier balance of creating, consuming, interacting with the art community, and just taking a break. And these were all my tips for today. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time.